Okay, we're learning Ilul Nishmas Yisrael Moshe ben Tzvi Yehuda of the Rabbi Avi Shver in the schus of his Torah and our Torah and the Neshama should have an Aliyah. Okay, I ask you to go back to Beis on the Beis on the Beis, 2 lines from the top. The Kama Yehi Be'ir v'Tehei Rui Sanhedrin. How many people have to be in the city to be boy for a Sanhedrin of 23? Me'er ve'esrim. You need 120. Rashi tells us the Gemara will explain. That's our job tonight. We're going to go ahead and figure out the 120 from the Rabbi Nechemia Oimer Mesayim Ushloishim Keneged Sari Asarais 230 Keneged Sari Asarais. So it's per each 10 people get one judge. So 230 times 10, 23 times 10 is 230. Okay, so that's okay. So now we're going to begin the Gemara. We're going to get the cheshbon of where do you need 120 people in a city? Where do they get that cheshbon from? And we're on Yud Ches. We had Zion on mid-base. We're about 15 lines from the bottom, I'd say. 15 lines from the bottom. The Sanhedrin may have asked him. May have asked him, Maya Vidataya. Where do you get 124 from a city? So Eslim B'Shloisha Keneged Sanhedria Katana. You need 23 for Sanhedria Katana. Keneged that. Usholosh Shura Shel Eslim Usholosh. And 3 rows. We're going to see in Gemara Viter. We need 3 rows of 23. So it's 4 times 23, which is 92. Haritishim B'Tarti, that's 92. The Esrim Basara Batlon Shalom Beis HaKnesses. You need 10 batlonim of the base Knesses. Rashi brings Asar batlonim. Asar b'nei Yodam b'teilim mikol malacha. They're bottled from work. Lios mizumonim lebeis HaKnesses. That they should prepare the Beis HaKnesses. Shachas v'yarvis. In other words, they had a minion there. Kivin Shabbat Kadosh Baruch Hu lebeis HaKnesses leimotzer shem Asar miyad koyes. It gets angry. The Kaimel. So in other words, you need 10. So therefore, that gives us 102. Harimei betray 92 plus 10 is 102. Shnei Soifrim, the stenographers of Bezdin, is 104. Shnei Chazonim, Mishamashim, who would go ahead and subpoena people and take care of the courts, is 106. Shnei Balidinim is 108. Shnei Eidim is 110. Shnei Zomim, 2 potential Zomim, is 112. Ushnei Zomim, and you need Zomim that can be Zamim Zomim. Harimei of Arbisa is 114. So now we're short 6, guys. We're short 6. V'tanya, kol ir she'ein ba asara devarim halalu ein talmid chacham ha'ilad b'seichen. Any city that does not have these 10 things, the talmid chacham can't live in the city. Bezdin makin oinshin, Bezdin that administers makis and punishment. Kupa shel tzedakah, like the kupa of the tzedakah collector. Nigves b'shnayim, it's going ahead and it is collected by 2 people. If you recall from Baba Basra early on in the Masechta, 2 people, so you won't be choshed the other one for putting it away from himself. U'mischalekes b'shloisha, and it's divided up by 3, like a bezdin. You need bezdin to divide up which people are appropriate for the tzedakah now. That gives us 5, fellas. So now we're short 1. We need 6, right? We have 114. We have these 5 is 119. U'beis knesses, u'beis hamerchatz. You need a beis knesses. You need a beis hamerchatz. A beis hakisei. Roife v'umen v'lavlar, you need a doctor, a bloodletter, a sefer, u'malami tinoikis. And Rashi says, these are all done by 1 person. Rashi says, okay, so your doctor is your Rabbi, notice they took out Tafach, the Shochet. The Baruch Hashem, he's not the Shochet. So this all done by, look at the bottom line of Rashi. Rashi said, Chad Gavra Havi L'chol Hani. 1 person did all these things. So this is a total of 120. And Rabbi Kiva answers another thing that you have to have in the city is you have to have Paris. Af mine pira, you need different types of Paris, mainly Paris, Marinas and Nayim, because different Paris they go ahead and they enlighten the eyes. And Nehemiah said 230, and we said the 230 was each one should get 10, each 23 times 10. Tanya Rebbe Oimer, Rebbe says a cheshbon. Rebbe says a cheshbon of 200 v'shivim v'shiva, 277. So 277 minus 230 is 47. So we have to get 47 people. Okay, Rashi brings the cheshbon of 47 people. Basically, guys, it works like this: if you have a bezdin that's equal and a person says, "I don't know," you add 2 more people. What happens if they don't know? In other words, you would do this up to 47 people. You'd have to do this up to 47 people. This procedure that we're going to discuss on the Daf Mem, where a member of Bezdin said he doesn't know, and we take him out of the equation. But Tanya, Rabbi Yomer, Masayim V'Shivim U'Shmayna, 278. So L'chayra, it says 277. Like Hasha, her Rabbi Yehuda is 277. Her Rabbanon, which again, Rabbi Yehuda says a Sanhedrin is 70, and the Chacham say 71. So some will get like Rabbi Yehuda, you have 277. Like the Rabbanon, you have 278. Okay, Tan Rabbanon, the Rabbanon, a brisa that finishes the first parak. Tan Rabbanon, the Samta Alehem. This is by the advice that was given by Yisro. This is the advice that's given by what? By Yisro. I'm going to go skiing for a second. The Samta Alehem, sorry Alafim, sorry Meyos, sorry Chamishim, sorry Asarais. And you go ahead, Moshe should go over the people. Okay, sorry, of thousands, of hundreds, 50s, and 10s. Okay, there were 600,000 people. So now, sorry, Allah of 6,000 is sheish of 600,000 is sheish meyos. So it's 600. Sorry, meyos of hundreds of 6,000 is what is sheish salaf of 6,000. Sorry, chamishim the 50s. 50 times is what is 12,000. Sorry, asari is sheish rivoy. You would need what? You need 60,000. Nimsu dayani Yisrael shiva rivoy shmeina alafim b'sheish meyos. The amount was what? Was 78,678,000. That was the amount. Hadron Alecha Dini Mominus, Hadron Alecha Dini Mominus, Hadron Alecha Dini Mominus. Now, in the first paragraph, we happen to mention that Dini Mominus, that the Kohen Gadol went ahead and he was judged by 70, the Bezdin of 71. Agav that, we're going to tell us the halachas of vis-a-vis the Kohen Gadol and the Melech. How regarding judgment in Sanhedrin and Eidos, the halachas of Kohen Gadol and the halachas of a melech. So it's a very interesting parak. Says the Mishnah. Kohen Gadol done, he could judge. The done on Isai, and you can judge him. Meid, he can testify. Umeidim Isai, and you can testify against him. Chayleitz, the Kohen Gadol could do chalitza if he has a brother that goes to Hedwan and dies without children. Right, he can do chalitza to his sister-in-law, the cholzin and the ishtai, and his brother can do chalitza to the Kohen Gadol's almana. Umiyabmin es ishtai, and you can even do yibum to his wife. Right? He can't do yibum to somebody else because he's a Kohen Gadol and he has to marry a basula. The Gemara is going to discuss what happens if it's an almana from Eresin and the marriage wasn't consummated and she was a basula. We'll get into that. He can't go ahead and do yibum because he's asabal money. He can't marry money. He's got to marry. There's a lav of marrying almana. In addition, there's a lav of a mitzvah say of basula, right? If a kohen's brother dies, his wife is an almana, so he can't marry an almana. Is a lav marrying almana. In addition, she's not a basula. There's a mitzvah say for him to marry a basula. So the Gemara is going to get into what happens if she is still a basula. Let's say she's not one of Merison. Mace, right? Mace loy, mace, any yoitza acha mita. If let's say one of the kroivim that usually a person is misabel over, the Kohen Gadol is different. The Kohen Hedyot is able to go ahead and be matama. The Kohen Gadol is muzer not to be matama. It says migdash le'yetzei. So what happens over here is that he can't walk after the mita. Says Rashi, why? Dilma asa leminga. Maybe he'll come to touch it. In other words, in his pain, maybe he'll come to touch it. And it's asa v'hainu the iser kra umen amigdash le'yetzei. The Torah says you can't leave the migdash. What does that mean? Mikdushasai le'yetzei. So Reb Meir, this is the opinion of Meir, fellas. He says that when it says well migdash le'yetzei, it means your state of kedusha you shouldn't leave. You shouldn't leave your state of kedusha. Physically, you're able to leave the Beis HaMikdash, but you can't walk directly after the mace because you may come to touch it, and that would go ahead and that would go ahead. It would go ahead and question your again. You're putting yourself in a situation where you might be mitame, so you want to stay away from that. Kloimar yisrachek min akir. Stay away from something that's ugly. Shlo yavli de tuma, that you shouldn't come to tuma. B'hai kra b'koyin gadol oinen ksiv. Ksiv le'el minei la'aviv v'lim v'layitama. So Rashi explains the reason of Reb Meir. Reb Meir says that he leaves, but he can't go after the mace directly. However, you know what he could do? They go down one street and he can appear. They appear, and he goes. In other words, he comes after it, but in the way that he's so far away from the mace, appearing and disappearing to make sure he doesn't touch it. He goes out to the city. He goes out to the Pesach of the Shar. Rabbi Yehuda, he doesn't leave the Mikdash. In other words, he takes it literally, fellas. He takes it very literally. When it says it means literally, you can't leave the Beis Hamikdash. So Rameh, you could. Do not leave your state of Kedusha, and therefore you can't go directly after it. Says Rabbi Yehuda, you can't even leave the Beis Hamikdash at all. When he is menachem, when they used to have the line up from the kever, they would go ahead and they would line up, and when the kohen gadol would be menachem of the people, so derech kol ha'am oivim b'zeh achazeh, the people would pass in front of the avelim one after the other, but the kohen gadol b'mamunam and matzah beinoi levein ha'am, the kohen gadol would be placed in the middle between the people and the one who's the assistant kohen gadol. So you'd have, let's say you'd have this is the avelim, this finger. These are the people. My ring finger is the kohen gadol, and my pinky is the assistant kohen gadol. So he'd be right in the middle, walking away. That's the opinion of Ukashim Misnach. Now that's when what? That is when the kohen gadol he's menachem mothers. Ukashim Misnachem Acherim, when he is the aval. And when the people are misnachim the kohen gadol, kolam oimim loi, the whole nation would say, anu kaparascha, where your kapara, v'oimer lehem tisborchu min hashemayim. He would say you should be benched from shemayim, ukeshemav meisai, and the first meal, the sudas havra that they fed from other people, kolam mesubim al aretz, all the people would sit on the ground, v'hu meisiv al asafsel, and he would go ahead, he would sit on a bench, which is usually not the norm. But the kohen gadol, he would go ahead and sit on the bench. That's the halachas of the kohen gadol. Now, going from the kohen gadol, we switch to the king. Hamelech loidan v'loidan onaisai. As opposed to the kohen gadol who could judge and be judged, a melech can't judge or can't be judged. Loi meid, he can't testify. Loi meid onaisai, nor can you testify against him. Loi chaylitz, loi chaltzin leishtai. He can't go ahead and have chalitza. Nor can others go ahead and do chalitza to his widow. Loi miyabim, he doesn't do yibum. Ve'im lo miyabim leishtai. Again, the melech is a different status. Melech is a different status vis-a-vis these halachas, primarily because it might be a bizayin. Rabbi Yehuda says, "In lots of lachloitz liyabim zachlotayv." He says that the king wants to do chalitza or yibum, he can do it, and it's a good thing. Amulay the chumset of Yehuda ain't shoymim lay. If he wants to do it, we don't listen to him. They nice in Lamanasa, you can't marry the king's widow. Can't marry the king's widow. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Noisi Melech Almanasa Shal Melech, a king can marry the almana of a king. Shekem Matzina b'David, Shenas Almanasa Shal Shol, we find that David that he married Shol's almana. Shenemar, we can see in the Gemara, it's not literally. Ve'etna lecha, espeis adonecha, vesneshei adonecha b'chikecha. When David takes Abigail, he gets a zug from Nasan. And in the zug, he says that Hashem gave you, David, he gave you Shaul, the house, and he gave you the woman of the master of Bechekecha. So we're going to see what that means. Okay? Bottom line is, we're going to go ahead and now deal with the Kohen Gadol first. Good? Says the Gemara, Kohen Gadol done, Pshita. Why shouldn't he be able to go ahead and done? Why should the Kohen Gadol be able to judge? Says, done the Chiddush is that what? We judge him. Hanami Pshita. It's also Pasha. What's the difference? Says the Gemara, after all, if we can't judge him, he can't judge others. First you go ahead and adorn yourself and then adorn others. In other words, first go ahead and be judged by others, and then you could judge them. So of course, he won't be able to judge other people unless other people can judge him. So for symmetry in the Mishnah, since by Melech, the halacha is the king can't judge, nor can he judge others. Tananami ki agavna, we learn by the Kohen Gadol. We learn by the Kohen Gadol, done. Okay, so that's one teretz. One teretz is it's no chiddush whatsoever that Kohen Gadol can judge or be judged. The reason why it's learned is simply to be in line with what? With the king. The Ibayis Ema, another teretz. What's the chiddush of the Kohen Gadol that he's being judged? Hakamashvalon Kidatanya. Now we know that there's a halacha that a person that kills b'shogeg goes to galus. How long does he have to stay in galus? Till the death of the Kohen Gadol. When the Kohen Gadol goes ahead and dies, then he can go out. Good? Says the Gemara. Kohen Gadol shaharag es nefesh b'mezid. A Kohen Gadol kills a nefesh b'mezid. Nerag, he gets killed. In other words, he's no different than anybody else. B'shoigeg goyla. If he kills b'shogeg, he goes to galus. V'oiver al asay v'alois asay. In addition, he's over on asay and alois asay. The Gemara is going to ask, what does that mean? I mean, he automatically is over on asay and alois asay. What are we talking about? We have to fill in the blanks over here. There's something missing. You told me he kills b'mezid, he gets killed. You told me he kills b'shogeg, he goes to galus, and he does an aveira. But that aveira has nothing to do with the killing. What do you mean he's doing an aveira? We'll see in the Gemara. Varihuki hedyet l'chal devarav. B'mezid nerag pshita, l'charetz pshita. Says, no, you're right. B'shogeg goylitz tzrichalei. The chiddush is, you need to tell me that he goes to galus. So now l'chayra, that him going to galus would be a chiddush. The fact that he goes to galus is a chiddush. Says the Gemara, hanami pshita. It's also pashut that he goes to galus. Why would you think not? Right? Why would you think he doesn't go to galus? Go to galus. So it's the you need to tell me that. Salkadayich, I would have thought following. Hayel ksiv. It says it says the yoshav bo ad moisa kohen gadol. The Reitzach b'shogeg sits in the city until what? Until the kohen gadol is dies. Ema, I would say, called is like takanta b'chazara. Anyone who has the ability to go free when the kohen gadol dies goes to galus. The leslie takanta b'chazara, but one who doesn't have that, guys, because the kohen gadol kills, and Tosfos points out, and there's no kohen gadol appointed yet. So since there's no kohen gadol appointed yet, this guy's stuck. There's no out. So I would say loy ligli. I'd say he doesn't go to galus. Nan ahari kohen gadol, someone who kills a kohen gadol or kohen gadol shaharag es nefesh. Eini yatzim misham la'olam. They don't leave there. So I would say ema loy ligli. I would say he doesn't go to galus. Kamash malon that he does. That's the chiddush of what that Don and I say that you judge him for galus. Let's say he doesn't go. Since there's no way out, maybe he doesn't go. The boss says lo neshama kol reitzeach, to run to the miklat kol reitzeach. Who's kol? I feel kohen gadol b'mashma. It's mashma even kohen gadol. So the chiddush we have so two pshatim in Don and I say. There's no chiddush whatsoever that the kohen gadol can judge or be judged. After all, he's no different than anybody else. Says the more you're right. The reason we learned it is because of the king. The king is different, and he can't judge or be judged. A second teretz, the chiddush is that he could be judged for galus. You might think since what he's stuck if he goes there because there's no kohen gadol appointed for him to go free, and there's no takana. So I say he doesn't go to galus. Kamashmon that lo neshama kol reitzeach, that every reitzeach even kohen gadol. Now over it said in the Bryce it said he's over in asay and alois asay. Now, guys, it's not running on. You said it din. A kohen gadol kills b'mezid gets killed. A kohen gadol kills b'shogeg goes to galus. Period. Then it says that what? Over asay v'alois asay. What does that mean? We're finished that. We got a period. We're finished with that. What do you mean over v'alois? Says the Gemara. Le'sagid lo'yova. He has to be over in aveira. What are you talking about? What does the Brisa mean? Says Mahachi Kam. Here's what the Brisa means. Im, very important. Im over al asay. If he's over on a lav, if he's over on an asay, he's mevatel an asay, ve'alois asay. If he's judged like everybody else. Pshita, why would you think he's different? I would have thought. Ain't done in Loyas Hashevit, V'loyas Hanavi Sheker, V'loyas Kohen Gadol, LLP Besin Shel Shivim Ve'echad. If the Kohen Gadol does an Aveira that has Misa, guys, remember, he's judged 71 only if the Aveira that he did carries the death penalty with it, or Karis. He's not judged with 71 on eating chazer, on wearing shatnez. In other words, a regular lav, he's not judged in 71. So that, but Gemara's Havamin is maybe you would think he is. Kamash Malon, that no. That's the Chiddush over here. Any great matter, Yavi Elecha. What does that mean? Devarav Shel Gadol, the matter of a great person. So any great person, no matter what he did, you might think is judged by the 71, even if he did a lav. Says the Gemara, Ema Kol Devarav Shel Gadol. I might think all matters of a Gadol, even a lav, Kamash Malon, that no. He only gets on the big ones, but a regular lav, he's judged by 3. Again, Makas, we said, is Machloikas 3 or 23. Let's say in Echanami, everything goes to the Kohen Gadol. Even Makas would be go ahead and judge by 71. So that's Mikasiv Divrei Gadol. Does it say the words of Gadol? Hadava Gadol, a great matter. What's a great matter? Achiv Misa. But not a great matter would not be go to the 71. Ksiv Dava Divrei Gadol, Hadava Gadol, Ksiv, Dava Gadol Mamish. It's got to be a Dava Gadol. So we learn out 2 things. That the Varav Shel Gadol regarding a Gadol person goes to the 71, but you know what goes? Dover Gadol, a Dover Gadol. If it's a Dover cotton, we're calling Makas a Dover cotton, guys. We're calling a Lab a Dover cotton. But vis-a-vis Misa, it is. So the Kohen Gadol, you only go to 71. So it will be like this, fellas. Kohen Gadol, Dine Mominis, 3. Dine Mominis is 3. Right? Dine Mominis 3. A Dover Gadol would go to the 71. He would go to 71. Mayid, the Kohen Gadol could testify. Umeidim Maisai, and you could testify against him. Mayid, he could testify. 1 second. Vatanya, Besalamta. Okay, what does the pasuk say? Don't see the shar of your friend or his seyai nidachim that they're lost, they're wandering. Besalamta mehem. Don't see us. And close your eyes. Return, you should turn to what? To your brother. Mitzvah Shavas Aveda. But we learned for his Valamta that you close your eyes, that sometimes you can close your eyes. Sometimes you can. And that's what we're going to discuss. And under the discussion is that it's not Lafik Foida for this person to go ahead and return. So Memela, just like it's not Lafi this person Kfoida to go ahead and do this, it's also not Lafik Foida to go ahead and testify on behalf of an individual. Okay, and it was, I think we're speaking about pretty much in Dinei Mominis. So it says the Gemara. The Salamta Pam Shatim Salem, Pam Shiatim Salem. Sometimes you do close your eyes, sometimes not. Haketzad. Koyin v'hu bebeis hakvaris. Let's say the lost articles in the Beis HaKvaris, and he's a koyin. So he has a mitzvah essay of returning the object, but he also a mitzvah lois essay of becoming tamei. Islamta, you turn away from it. Sakain ve'eino lefik faydai. If he's an elder or chacham, it's not lefik faydai, then he can turn away from it. He doesn't have to return it. He doesn't have to pick it up to return it. This guy has a very, very prestigious job. He gets paid by the hour. If he's going to go ahead and be Isaac in this, it's going to cost the person more than the Aved is worth, because he's going to have to reciprocate, I guess, the amount of money that he lost. Then you don't have to return it. So nema v'salamta. Therefore, it says v'salamta. Okay. So what's the kasha? The kasha is it's not the fikfoidai of the kohen to do this. So we see that we take into account as covet. So why do you tell me the kohen can go ahead and testify if it's not the fikfoidai? He shouldn't have to testify. So Omar Rabbi Yosef says Rabbi Yosef, Meid lemelech, right? Meid lemelech. He's testifying on behalf of a king. The king's not being judged, guys. You can't judge the king. That you can't have him testifying on behalf of the king because the king doesn't come to court. He's going at it for the prince. It says on Bel Melech Hedyed who? So there's a Hedyed, and therefore back to the original question. The king is sitting in judgment there. Now, obviously, he just said he can't judge. We'll have to see what that means. But Sanhedrin, It's interesting, guys. The Gemara brings this in, correct? Why didn't the Gemara just say lay done, and I say? The Mishnah says lay done, you can't judge. It doesn't bring that in. It says that what? You don't put him on the Sanhedrin. Why don't you simply say lay done? So look at Taisvis. Ba'im Meshivin Melech b'Sanhedrin Tema Lifrach Masnisam. Why don't you ask for my Mishnah? That nan Melech lay done. Melech can't judge. So why do you go ahead and bring in this source? You have a source right next door in the Yom Aleph. Right? Boy, my Kamashmalan Masnisani. My Kamashmalan. What's the chiddush that you don't put him on the Sanhedrin? Masnisani Melech lay done. So there's two kashas. One is why did you bring this in that Eimai Shivin? And what's the chiddush over here? If it's a Mefurish Mishnah, that the kohen can't sit on the bezdin. B'yesh leimar, the Hadein, listen to this chiddush. The Hadein Melech done hanimili levadai. That means alone. Mishum the ain done and Isai, because you can't judge him. The Lake Harina Bay, his Kaishashu v'Kaishay. Guys, he can't judge alone because you can't judge him. So therefore, it's so in other words, if the king can't judge, if he can't be judged, you can't judge him. That's when he's alone. Okay. What's he done? But with other people he could. The ein hadin nigmar al piv levad. Kach nira lemaran. So that's why you didn't bring that. And you brought ein meshiva melech b'Sanhedrin, because from our Mishnah, done, right? Done means what? It means alone. You can't do it alone. Okay. So Fred the Gemara Kasha, let's go back to the question. You're telling me that if it's not lefi kvodo of a person to do a mitzvah, so l'chayre, how could a kohen gadol go ahead? And you can't tell me it's speaking about a prince, because the prince is a hedyot. So what do we answer? The king is there. Fred the Gemara, the king. What do you mean the king is there? The king can't judge. So it's still back to the original question. It's not lefi kvodo. Okay, back in the Gemara. Well, aim Shiva Melech Sanhedrin. That's going to be covered the Kohen Gadol, Asav Yosef. Okay, Mishum the covet of the Kohen Gadol. You know what's going to happen? Because of the covet of the Kohen Gadol, he's going to come and he's going to sit there. Because of the covet of the Kohen Gadol, he's going to come and he's going to sit there. So if he's coming, the covet of the Kohen Gadol sitting there no longer is a lack of covet. And therefore, mikabli nele l'sadusa, the Kohen Gadol goes ahead, and his edus is heard. And koyhu bazal, the king gets up and leaves. Umayani le anabedina, and then they look into what the case of the son. So he's not sitting in judgment. We're worried about his covet. If the Kohen Gadol, if the melech comes, then it's covered for the Kohen Gadol, and therefore what? It's not a problem. So that's the case of Meir that he could testify. Says the Gemara. Kufa, ein meshivim melech b'Sanhedrin. You don't put a melech on the Sanhedrin. V'loy melech v'kohen gadol b'iber shana. And when it comes to going ahead and making an ibiyar, you don't go ahead and have the kohen gadol sitting there or the melech sitting there. Each one has his own axe to grind, or as they say, his own fish to fry. Melech b'Sanhedrin, dichsiv leisana al riv. The king can't sit on Sanhedrin because no one can argue with him. Because you say leisana al rav. Leisana al riv means don't answer to an argument. But you know what it means? Don't go ahead and answer to a rav, to someone, the king. So if the king is sitting there, it's going to hamper the judges. If it hampers the judges, then Mela, we don't have him there. So that's why he can't sit. And what does it mean that the melech and the kohen gadol cannot be part of being ma'abed the year? Melech mishum afsanya. The king would pay an annual amount of money for his army, an annual amount. So if you go ahead and make it an ibiyar, he's not paying monthly, guys. He's paying annually. So he has to gain by an ibiyar. He'll get an extra month out of it. So therefore, since he can gain by that, we don't go ahead and put him there. And kohen gadol mishum tzina. The kohen gadol because it's tzina. Now what's going to happen? You make an ibiyar, so the tishrei is really going to be pushed into cheshbon. So it's going to be pushed into cheshbon. It's going to be very cold. Rashi brings. He has to go to the mikveh. And the mikveh, if it's going to be the cold weather, it's going to be colder. For Tosfos, they would go ahead and put a hot bar. They would put hot water in the mikveh, so it wouldn't be cold. So, and for Tosfos, that's speaking about the floor. The floor was marble. Marble is quite cold, and therefore the kohen gadol, he would not want to be. In other words, the Melech would want to make an Ibiyar because he has to gain financially. The king does the Kohen Gadol does not want to make an Ibiyar because he wants to ensure that the weather is better for him. So the Esron Golis Hayom, he asked that. So what does Pshat and Rashi? What does Rashi do with Tosfos Pshat? Because they said they heated up the mikvah. The answer is that was the mikvah that was in the Kodesh. The first one that was in the Choil, they didn't heat up. The first one was not heated up. And in saying they asked the Kasha, we're dealing with the Kohen Gadol. What a little cold. I mean, all of us in our lives have been in a cold mikvah, I think. Okay? Or definitely in a cold pool. Right? So listen, it's Bayesheni, guys. Bayesheni, remember the Kohen Gadol was not the most prestigious person, right? So therefore, it's not to talk about. Now, it seems to be over here, the Kohen Gadol is worried about moving back the weather in Cheshvan to Tishrei. So I'm not exactly sure about the Gemara means. So I have an understanding, but the Lashon over here I'm not exactly so good with. But basically, here's what the Gemara is going to say. I'll give it to you outside. The Gemara is going to say that you see that they based upon weather, they go ahead and make decisions. They're making decisions based upon weather. What's the weather? The weather is going to go ahead, and Kohen Gadol is worried about what? This weather coming back, so he doesn't want to make an Ibiyar, because we're going to get Mar Cheshvan's cold weather in Tishrei, and therefore he doesn't want to make an Ibiyar, add an extra month. We're going to be a question with three shepherds having conversations about Adar, and it seems that the seasons would be for other reasons, not necessarily. They wouldn't necessarily make it upon the weather. They make other factors. Okay, so that's going to be the dialogue of the Gemara. So let's see it in the Gemara. Says the Gemara. Amra Papa Shmamina, from the fact that the Kohen Gadol was worried about coldness. Shasa Basa Yarcha Azol, that the weather goes after the what? Goes after the month. That the month that extends is going to walk back. Rashi thinks Mar Cheshvan is going to be put back into Tishrei. Is it really so that they're going to go be me'abiyah because of the Shana, because of the Cheshvan? V'hanach gimel roi bako davi kaimi. There were these three shepherds. V'shamin and Rabban the Kami. The Chum was saying, Chadama. They heard the shepherd. One of the shepherds said, "In bakir v'lakish kechada yenitz." If you go ahead and the ground is warm and you plant wheat and you plant barley, and they come up at the same time, dein hein adar. Then this is Adar, it's right, Vimlav, and if they don't grow up at the same time, it's not Adar, it's Shvat. So you see that what? The weather's moved back, not forward. V'chado Amar, im toim bitzvar, bitlog yemois, if the ox, he dies in the cold in the morning, ubetihara in the afternoon, betul te'ena yidmach yishlach mashke, in the afternoon, he's rubbing against a fig tree. Deinhu de Adar, it's Adar, Vimlav, it's not. V'chado Amar, im kidum takif l'chada, if the east wind is blowing, however, yipach beloyach nofik lekible, and when you go ahead and you blow your cheeks up and you blow it out, and your breath could go ahead and overcome the wind, then it's a raya, it's adar, meaning it's warmer. Then it's not adar, and it's shvat. The Ibu Rabbanon lahi shaita, and when the Chachamim heard this, they went ahead what? And they made an ibiyar. They made an ibiyar. So what do you see over here? That the Ibiyar did not necessarily follow the next month, because over here they're making it based upon the present. This can't be Adar. This must be Adar, not Shvat. So again, I'm not exactly sure exactly what's going on over here. It's a basic idea that it's not that the Chachamim, if they're doing this, is not necessarily because the weather patterns of Adar and Tishrei. I think that's the kasha. And the Gemara answers, the Chacham had nothing whatsoever to do with these shepherds. Tiz Rabbanan Aravosach Samich, they're going to be Samich on shepherds. El Rabbanan Achush Benayu Samich. As we said, it's a mathematical cheshbon. Basically, Tosfos asked the kasha, guys, we figured it out. L'chayr has nothing to do with the weather. It has to do with what? It has very much to do with the weather. What happens if the summer solstice is going to go ahead and go into the 16th day of Chol Hamoed, right? The first day of Chol Hamoed, it's not going to work. You see that? So we do delay. We do take into account delaying the solar year. We'll go ahead and make an ibiyar to make sure that the fall equinox, that Tkufis Tishrei, is 16th is there. So we do that. So he's saying that it's speaking maybe The Ibiyah could have been because of Aviv. There's other reasons. The Ibiyah could have been because the fruit, remember the produce wasn't, we need the produce, the Chodesh Aviv, to be in Nisan and not in Adar. So there are different reasons that nothing to do with with weather necessarily, with the Kufis. Bottom line is, it's a little confusing, I understand. Anyway, so the Gemara says the Rabbanan had nothing to do with it. They made their own cheshbon. In other words, they made the Ibiyah because of the Ibiyah. They made it upon hearing the shepherds. No, they had made it already, and the shepherds just substantiated that they were correct in this year, not being Adar, but in fact being Shvat. And Bez Hashem shall be.